Hello and welcome to Doug's Dumb Channel. I am your host and Star Wars fan, Doug. I've been a Star Wars fan ever since '77 when Star Wars came out. And being the Star Wars fan I am, there have been only two Star Wars movies that I have not seen in theater when it was released. The first being, obviously, the 1977 Star Wars. I was a kid. I couldn't get somebody to take me to the theater to see it. Had there been a theater in my town, I grew up in a small town. Had there been a theater in my town, I would have walked and gone to see it. But I couldn't get an adult to take me to the next town over so I could see it. And the other Star Wars movie I haven't seen in theaters is Mandalorian Grogu. Personally, just Disney has ruined it for me. They really have. And it wasn't so much the movies that ruined it. We'll get there. So the Disney Star Wars movies have been very disappointing. The best one, in my opinion, has been Rogue One. I thought it was perfectly fine. I thought it was a decent, good movie. And everything else, it's just so disappointing. You've heard the stories. You know all this. And when Disney Star Wars announced that they were going to be releasing a Mandalorian TV series, I was pretty excited. I thought it was going to be like a Mandalorian bounty hunter kind of Fall Guy, the original Fall Guy from the 80s with Lee Majors, and holy cow, she was hot, Heather Thomas, and not the movie Fall Guy. Anywho, I thought it was going to be like a, catch the bad guy of the week and with an underlying story underneath that would, carry the series along. And I figured the Grogu character was going to be that underlying story that was going to be carrying it along, but it just turned out weird. Watching it, I thought it was fine. I didn't really know any better, but looking back at it, it feels a lot like watching a video game. There was a point A to point B, and then you had like a big conflict or something that in the middle that you had to fight over. It was okay watching it. And then season 2, they had to keep Grogu back because he was very popular. And, we learned this from Spaceballs. Merchandising! Grogu the Lunchbox. And a lot of people like the character. I think he's just creepy. He's kind of got like this dark-eyed demon monster thing looking on him. Yoda at least has got some white in his eyes and doesn't look as creepy. This thing looks just weird. But, season 2 is just more of the same. To be honest, I can't really tell you anything that happened in season 2. The part I did like was at the end, the X-Wing fighter shows up and the cloaked figure with the glove and the green lightsaber, like, we know who this guy is. And that was fun. Even with the de-aging, I could forgive that. It was fun. It was fun. That whole scene with Luke and the robots was just great. It was fun. But when Luke took Gogurt, I keep wanting to call him Gogurt, Grogu, I figured that would be the end of his arc and he would be taken off the show and maybe spun off into his own show with Luke. But that didn't happen. So season 2 of Mandalorian ended, and then the Boba Fett show was coming. And I'm like, okay, now this is going to be great. Boba Fett, an amazing character, had 8 lines in Empire Strikes Back. Great character. Awesome death scene in Return of the Jedi. How he gets out of the Sarlacc pit. This is going to be great. It's going to be fun. We're going to go back into some, the bounty hunter stuff. Getting out of the Sarlacc pit was kind of interesting. I am curious as to how the Stormtrooper got in there. I'm assuming he had been looking for a couple of droids in a previous movie. I'm guessing. I don't know. But he went from bounty hunter to crime lord? I just didn't understand his story arc thing and the sand people thing. It was just weird. So by the time they got to I think it was episode 3, the Power Rangers showed up, and I was like, I'm out. I'm just done. But a friend of mine was like, oh, no, you gotta keep watching. Episode 5 is amazing. And I'm like, so I went and watched episode 4 and then episode 5. And he was right. Episode 5 was great. For a Mandalorian episode, it didn't even have Boba Fett in it. Here's a sign your show sucks. if your greatest episode doesn't have the main title character in the show, it sucks. And that's basically what was going on there. It was just bad. And they had to do that in order to get Grogu back with Mandalorian, so that way he'll be ready to go and they don't have to waste any time. They can go right back into Mandalorian Season 3, which I didn't even watch. In fact, the Boba Fett climax of the show just felt like a lot of South Park member berries. Remember the Rancor? Yeah, I remember. And I was out. And all of those other shows that came out after it, the Leia and Obi-Wan show and Andor and Ahsoka and Witches of Eastwick or whatever the show was, I didn't watch any of them because I was just out. I'm out. And from what I've heard, the Mandalorian movie is basically just like a 2-part episode of Mandalorian. And yeah, I'm just out. I couldn't possibly care less. So I'm out. So how many of you didn't watch it, didn't care, have been checked out of Star Wars? And if they came out with something new, you'd be like, not interested. I'll go back and watch my original DVDs of the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy. Newer stuff, I might watch Rogue One again. It's fun. You know what was great? I won't even get into it. So thanks for watching. You know what to do with the buttons and stuff. Just thanks for watching. It seemed a lot like...